Here's some more metal bands from Italy. This is the third video I've done on this country, and they're based on your comments. I've chosen 10 bands. This will be the same format as the other videos. I'll listen to one album from each band. In most cases, I try to listen to their most recent album to get an idea of their current sound. Many of these bands are still active, and some of them have albums coming out in 2025. I've chosen bands that were mentioned most throughout the comments section, and I have a wide variety of styles and genres. So with that being said, let me get into it. The first band that I chose was the one that people recommended the most in the comments, and that is Novembre. They are an Italian death doom metal band. They formed in Rome. Their first name was called Catacomb, and the band was founded by brothers Carmelo and Giuseppe Orlando. The band began as a death metal group before evolving into an atmospheric death doom metal band. They changed their name to Novembre in 1993. They have 8 albums. I listened to their most recent album called Ursa, which is the 8th studio album released on April 1st, 2016. That title, Ursa, is an acronym for Unión de Repúblicas Socialistas Animales. I'm probably mispronouncing that because it's French, but that's the first French translation of George Orwell's novel Animal Farm. And the album features 10 songs. We have song titles such as Australias, The Rose, and Oceans of Afternoons. The band took a 9-year break before their last album, which came out in 2007. I had someone in the comments say they sounded like the band Catatonia. I thought that was a good comparison. I would also add that they reminded me of the band My Dying Bride. I thought the album was very dense with lots of layers of sound. There were clean and distorted guitars as well as clean and harsh vocals. At times they sounded like folk music. Other times it sounded like atmospheric doom metal. It's the type of album that's best given repeated listens, but overall I liked it a lot. The next band I have is Labyrinth. They're an Italian power metal band. They formed in 1991, Messa, Tuscany. They became popular with their 1998 album Return to Heaven Denied, which is considered a classic in the genre, and that solidified their status in the European metal scene. This band has undergone many lineup changes, most notably the departure of their guitarist, whose name is Olaf Thorsen, back in 2002, and that led to a shift in their musical style. But I listened to their album, Welcome to the Absurd Circus, which is the 9th album. It was released on January 22nd, 2021 through Frontiers Records. Also their first album with drummer Mattia Peruzzi. I felt it was a very melodic power metal band, and they were similar to many other artists that are on the Frontiers record label. It's very melodic, lots of virtuoso style guitar playing, lots of heavy power chords, and big and powerful vocals. They have another album coming out later this month, which I'm looking forward to, called In the Vanishing Echoes of Goodbye, and this will be released on January 24th, 2025, so it's almost out already. And according to my research, it is supposedly their heaviest and fastest work to date, which is a departure from their previous stylistic constraints. I haven't listened to the singles yet for the new one, but let me say, of the album I did listen to, I enjoyed this band. But the next band I have is kind of a spin-off of the band, I guess I'll say that, because it features many of the few, or a lot of same members of the band Labyrinth, and it is Vision Divine. So they are an Italian power metal, progressive metal band formed in 1988 by guitarist Olaf Thorsen. It was meant to be a solo project, but it evolved into a full band and has members like vocalist Fabio Leone and drummer Matt Stenciocchi. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but the band is known for lyrical themes about fantasy, spirituality, and I listened to their latest album, Blood and Angels' Tears, and that was their 10th studio album, released on September 20th, 2024 via Scarlet Records. That one had 11 tracks, and according to my research, it was an evolution of their sound. It had more progressive elements compared to their previous works. So the narrative was around 3 angels exiled during this cataclysmic war, exploring themes of redemption and unity, and notable collaborations included A.C. Wilde and Ray Alder. The album structure reflects this cinematic saga, blending melodic orchestration with powerful vocals by Ivan Giannini, And I thought the music had a very big and epic sound. There were melodic keyboards, heavy guitar riffs. The vocals were very big, very melodic. Another one that I enjoyed, I guess similar to the band Labyrinth, but it has many of the same members. But I actually enjoyed both of those bands. The next band that I have is Domine. This is another one that came up in the comments a lot. They are an Italian heavy metal band. They formed in 1983 in Florence. They're known for their epic power metal style. So this band gained recognition with their debut, Champion Eternal, and they've evolved over the years. They incorporated more mature elements into their music. I listened to Ancient Spirit Rising, which is their 5th studio album, released on February 20, 2007. This has 9 tracks. Notable songs, Lady of Shalott, Ancient Spirit Rising, and a few others. Produced by Enrico Paoli and released under the labels Dragonheart and Avalon. This band has a typical power metal sound, but I found it interesting. They use more power chords than a typical power metal band. Some songs have fast tempos with the rapid-fire drum beats. Other songs were slower and reminded me more of a progressive rock band from the 70s. I think the band Styx came to mind, especially their work from the 70s. I enjoyed it because there was a nice variety of heavy power metal tracks mixed with some softer rock tracks. So it's another band that I recommend. The next band I have is called Ponte del Diavolo. They are an Italian metal band formed in 20 and they're from Turin. The band's name translates to the Devil's Bridge, which is inspired by a real bridge in Italy, symbolizes their connection to darker themes. Their music blends doom and black metal, lots of old school influences and some modern elements. There's also elements of dark wave and post-punk. So in other words, this is like one of the most unique bands that I have heard, or out of all the bands on this list or that I will talk about in this video, this is one of the most, I would say, different. They have their own sound, like they don't fit into one particular box. So basically their sound is made with the use of dual bass guitars and lots of rhythmic guitar work, great drumming. They have a female vocalist, and she has a very haunting vocal style. I listened to their latest release, Fire Blades from the Tomb. That's also their debut album, and it came out on Season of Mist. The opening track is Domine, that has some doom metal with dark wave elements, and other songs have elements of post-punk. It evokes lots of gothic and dark imagery. There are times they play really slow, and that makes the song sound very dark and eerie. Other songs are more experimental and atmospheric. Also times when it sounds more like black metal with faster tempos. Overall, a very unique band. I've never heard any other band that sounds like them, so this one I highly recommend. Next band I have is called Avelion. They are an Italian metal band formed in 2008 in Parma, Emilia-Romagna, and they have undergone several lineup changes since its inception, and they're currently active. They were initially known for being a melodic power metal band, but they have evolved into more of a progressive metal sound, and now they have incorporated elements of modern metal. I listened to the album Illusion of Transparency, and that was their debut album. It was released on April 7th, 2017, and this album features a total of 10 tracks and a runtime of 43 minutes. To me, they sounded like modern metalcore mixed with some of that djent. The band's music contains lots of melodic and progressive elements. The sound features intricate guitar work, dynamic rhythms, and powerful vocals. And the album explores concepts related to perception and reality. This reflects the band's growth and maturity in songwriting. I thought this band was pretty cool. They are for fans of modern metal, uses lots of electronic elements and down-tuned guitars. So if you like that type of music, I recommend you check this band out. Next band I have is called Messa. They are a doom and metal band, and I would even call them proto-metal, and they've been active since 2014. I call them proto-metal. They remind me a lot of the band Lucifer, and I think the similarities are mostly with the lead vocalist. I listened to the most recent album called Close, that was released on March 11, 2022. The album was an hour long, included 2 short instrumentals. The album featured a lot of variety. There were some songs that were very slow and haunting, but there are other songs that had faster rhythms and more of an old school heavy metal sound. I also like the fact that they're pretty unique. They're not just trying to emulate old school bands like Black Sabbath. They have their own style. I would even say this is bordering on being a rock band, even though I consider them to be under the umbrella of heavy metal. Overall, probably one of my favorite bands on this list. The next band I have is called White Skull. This is a heavy metal and power metal band. They've been active since 1988. I listened to the most recent album, Metal Never Rusts, from 2022. And I have an interesting story with this because, as you know, I listen to a lot of bands every week, and when I saw the album cover, I noticed it looked familiar. And then when I started listening to it, I knew I had listened to this before, so I went back to check my notes, and I realized I did a short review of this back in 2022. I liked it because it's a pretty fun band. They can be a little cheesy, but they're very different. They are a female-fronted band, and the vocalist has a style which kind of sounds like Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, but the music is very catchy. It's melodic. The songs are kind of humorous. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I enjoyed listening to this because I remember I liked it when it came out, but I had completely forgotten about it. Also, one of my favorite albums out of all the ones I talked about because it's classic heavy metal filled with guitar riffs reminiscent of the heavy metal of the 80s, like bands like Iron Maiden and others like that. But it's a fun album, and that's why I like it a lot. The next band I have is called Negazione. This is a hardcore punk band, so technically they're not metal, but they still fall under the umbrella of metal because the album I listened to had more of a crossover thrash sound. This band was popular in the 80s, and they were only active between the years 1983 and 1992. I listened to their album from the year 1990 called 100%. I like this one a lot because, on the one hand, it was a punk rock album, but I thought a lot of the guitar riffs were very reminiscent of crossover thrash, similar to bands such as Suicidal Tendencies or DR. It was a short album. It had 8 songs, it was 32 minutes long. I think the opening track, called Back to My Friends, sounded a lot more like thrash metal. But the next track, Yesterday's Pain, sounded more like grunge music, something like Nirvana, but from their first album. Then the next track was called Parole, and it sounded like old school punk rock. So the album had a lot of variety. I like it a lot. I think it's metal enough to be considered for this list. I have one more band. They're called the Doomsword. They are an old school traditional heavy metal band. They write lyrics about Vikings and fantasy and things like that. The band has been active since 1997. I listened to their most recent album from 2011 called The Eternal Battle. They have a very retro heavy metal sound. I thought they were similar to some of those new wave of British heavy metal bands. Some songs are more epic in nature and have lyrics about warriors going to battle and things like that. Songs also have big and powerful vocals. At times they sound like Manowar, other times they can get a little cheesy, but it's a very fun album. I definitely like this type of music, and it's also one of my favorite albums from this list. So that is all. As always, give me more recommendations for more Italian bands. I'm sure there are plenty of others that I missed. Check out the videos in this series. I will stick them on the screen right here. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Please give the video a like. Helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you have not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. I will see you in the next one.